This week we're in Ephesians chapter 2. We're going to be beginning at verse number 11 and begin walking through the text. And our emphasis this week is going to be upon the work of Jesus Christ on the cross. The cross is the basis for unifying all people. Last week we were looking at the state of the Jews. This week we're going to be looking at the state of the Gentiles. And we're going to notice that God is able to bring them together in His house, the church. And notice in verse number 16, that He might reconcile them both, Jew and Gentile, might reconcile them both to God in one body through the cross. Now, isn't that an amazing thing? The cross has a unifying power. It doesn't matter whether you're Jew or Gentile, white or black, slave or free, it doesn't matter. The cross has that power. And Christ is the one eternal foundation for all races in the building of the spiritual temple of God. The temple is the church of Christ, the church which belongs to Christ. Now in verse number 11 and 12 of Ephesians chapter 2, we see the hopeless state of the Gentiles. Earlier in the chapter, we saw the hopeless state of the Jews. You were dead in your trespasses and sins. Now look at verse number 11. Therefore remember that you, once Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision made in the flesh by hands, that at that time you were without Christ, underline that, without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants and promises. Now get this, having no hope and without God in the world. Those are sad words, aren't they? Without hope. Without hope. Think about what was said about the Gentiles in verse number 1. You were dead in your trespasses and sins. But verse number 4 says, but God. And now we read of the Gentiles, you were without hope. And verse number 13, tomorrow we're going to be looking at it, it says, but now. You see, the great contrast is what can happen when you submit to Jesus Christ. Join us again tomorrow for your Daily 180.